If it's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island, hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Live from the smartwaytobuy.com studios. The Real Deal with celebrity chef David Burke is sponsored by Tavern 62 by David Burke, located at 135 East 62nd Street on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, where restaurant magic happens.
This is the Piscopo in the Morning Show. Joe is off this week, but we are holding down the fort, we being Anthony Pope, Al Gattullo, yours truly, Frank Morano. And joining us for the last 2 hours, the CEO of the Token team, John Tabacco, looking dapper as always.
Good morning, Frankie.
Hello there, John. And as we do each and every Tuesday at 8:05, those of you who are surfing YouTube, surfing Facebook, and disappointed that your favorite Alex Jones video has been censored and taken down, wonder, what can I now watch on YouTube? Well, you can watch us. Just go to YouTube, go to Facebook, type in AM 970 The Answer, and every Tuesday at this time, you can see one of New York's most accomplished chefs, the man who brought us Tavern 62, the man who is just knocking them dead at the Woodpecker here in Manhattan, and Saratoga in Washington, D.C. Just the mere mention of the syllables, the 3 syllables, David Burke, inspires salivation in the eyes and tongues of restaurant goers everywhere. David Burke, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you. Good introduction.
Now, how are things going over at the Woodpecker? I know John and I have been to the Woodpecker. You were kind enough to.
The Woodpecker's doing very good. We started brunch this Sunday. We're doing a brunch with a band, and so I brought you some breakfast calzones.
Wow.
Woodpecker, the happy hour is going well. It's doing well. You know, it's an up-and-coming neighborhood, and it's on 30 West 30th. So, yeah, we're happy with it.
You know, so many restaurant businesses, restaurant owners and chefs say it's so difficult even just to keep a restaurant in business in Manhattan. Not only do you have to pay more and more for rent than ever, not only do you have to pay higher and higher minimum wage than ever, but you have to deal with the Department of Health. You have to deal with regulations. You have to deal with the fickle eating public. You have to deal with all sorts of things, difficulties in marketing. Based on when you broke into the restaurant business as compared to now, how have things changed? Have things actually gotten tougher?
Oh yeah, things have changed quite a bit. I mean, I talked to some of the older guys, the legendary restaurant, and the restaurant business was always a fun business. I mean, you had food, you had alcohol, people were celebrating, you hung out, and the workers were paid somewhat. They were paid cash a little bit. You'd have and it was a cash business once. Now credit cards came in, the internet came in. HR came in. HR and the restaurant business were never hand in hand until recently. I mean, it's a transient. People that work in restaurants are more renegade than people that work for IBM or a corporation that wanted to climb a corporate ladder that went to a college. Most people in the restaurant business in the day, they didn't. We started going to cooking schools. I did myself. And now the big question is, do you even need a cooking school to get in the restaurant business? Most of our employees are not graduates of cooking schools.
Yeah, Anthony, legally, is it a mistake for David to retroactively admit tax evasion that he was taking all this cash years ago?
Well, I didn't
say me.
I didn't interpret it that way. He was,
some people,
yeah, he
like
was just making a very general statement. So,
I said the guys before me.
Before you, yes, okay.
From what I heard.
This is
somebody
hearsay.
told him. That's it.
It's the fruit of the poisonous tree.
My first salary job was in New York was $600 a week, and I worked 90 hours. So I was actually paid less than minimum wage. They get you on the old days. You could get a salary.
Yeah.
Or what they call shift pay. You get $200 a day, $100 a day, whatever it was, but you'd be there.
But what hasn't changed?
But you get cash.
That's correct.
What hasn't?
Listen,
when I came out of law school, started practicing 30 years ago, there was 100 cases for every lawyer. Now there's 100 lawyers for every case.
Oh, boy.
Everything has changed. Nothing is the same anymore. I don't care what the business is. Everything is changed.
So one of the things we were talking about right before we went on air is that they're trying to breathe new life into restaurants and in New York and give people an opportunity to dine at restaurants that they haven't been to before. One of the great innovations, one of my favorite holidays, is Restaurant Week. But John, you were telling me some of the restaurateurs it's a very particular type of customer that's often attracted to the Restaurant Week menu.
Well, I want to say that the restaurant owners I know are very supportive of the plan. They think that it's wonderful to get new people into the restaurant, people to test the menu, get different feedback. But it tends to be in New York when you're giving a value driven menu that you get people who are really seeking value. In some of the higher end places, they put the price out there, they understand the boost they're getting, but the people don't want to spend as much money on the important things like a martini.
Well, our colleague Darren had dinner at Tavern 62 a couple of days ago. I know he never would have set foot in there but for Restaurant Week. But how are you experiencing Restaurant Week?
Lunch is a real giveaway at $30 or $29 or whatever it is. Dinner's $42. So most people that want to spend $42 for dinner to start are not necessarily the bottom feeder that are coming in. So lunch, it's a little bit different. And I sit on the advisory committee for a restaurant.
Oh, really?
Love it. Been in it since the first one 26 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's great for businesses if you can figure out how to get that $42 3-course meal up to, you got to get a drink. Maybe there's a wine sale. Maybe there's something else that.
A little extra dessert.
Most people that are going to spend $42 to go out, should have a drink. There's coffee. There's, maybe you can, some of the things we put on there, we add $5 to. We give them the whole menu. So for filet mignon with crab meat, we'll add $7, $8. And we surprisingly, someone say, you know what, I could, still a good deal.
You must be packed.
We do very well because we give you we've come up with a way to give you the whole menu, so there's not two different menus because inevitably if you give them, they see your menu and then you get the little one that has the choice of restaurant where you're like, oh shit, I got
Let me get out of here quick.
I got the used car over here.
Let me also ask you, one of the issues that's actually come up in the governor's race has to do with restaurants, and that's the governor's plan to reform how tipped workers in New York State are paid. Right now, you can be paid less than minimum wage if you get some of your income from tips. The governor wants to do away with that and make it so that everyone's going to have minimum wage. A lot of restaurant owners are concerned this is going to drive them out of business. A lot of the tipped workers are concerned that this is going to lead to fewer jobs for them and less money because they make a lot of money in tips. What's your experience in terms of how the tipped workers?
Here's how a waiter makes his money. A waiter can work 6 shifts. Right now, we pay them in New York. It's $8 an hour. It's still New Jersey. It's $2.50 or $3. I'm not exact. So in New Jersey, they make less. They have to make with tips at least a minimum wage. Has to come up to that. So it's a tip credit. If I have to pay a waiter $15 an hour, he's going to work 40 hours a week, never get any overtime. So that means 4 shifts, not 6. They make their money on shifts. They make $200-$300 a shift in tips. So they lose that because our overtime rate would be $22.50. We're not going to pay a waiter $22.50. If we say on the menu no tipping necessary like they do in Europe, we have to raise our prices 35%, not 20% to cover the tip because we got to pay taxes on that income now. We also have to pay sometimes rent on that because we have percentage rents in some of our business, 8% rent. Now 8% plus, so I got to raise so for chicken now that I charge $35 for,
$100.
That's $50. And people look at that and say, oh my God, I'm not going, it's too expensive. No, when I eat out, I look at the price on the menu and the online. It doesn't compute yet. We're not used to looking at the full check. At the end of the meal, you have a couple, okay, 20% tip, this and that. You never really get it. So it'll put waiters they'll have to work 2 different jobs in 2 different places.
So it's going to be a big problem if
it's a problem. It's a mistake.
No, Cuomo. Yeah.
And then we'll do, like in Europe, you go to a cafe in a tourist area, there's one waiter for 50 people, and the place is a mess. Service goes down.
Yeah, I just came back from Israel. I was in Israel 2 weeks ago, and I was very surprised. I mean, when I tip like I tip normally, I mean, people were just falling all over me.
Right.
I didn't even realize at first because, most of them, if they get 10% on a tip, it's a lot.
Right.
And typically I'll do 20, and if the waiter's really good, I'll do 25%.
The interns heard about that.
But
they were
falling
over themselves to bring coffee.
And I appreciate that people work for their tips. But it certainly is different. Even in Israel, I experienced that.
But the economics of the restaurant business do not work this way.
Yeah.
And people, there's a certain value you're going to put on a meal before you start eating at home or doing takeout or doing this.
Europeans don't even understand tipping, especially when they come to New York. They think it's okay if they leave $1. And I know a lot of people in the service business. They feel
sometimes they build in a tip on a European table ahead of time.
Yeah.
They'll do a table of 6 or more, and they'll make sure that most people that are traveling here. They understand.
One of the other
Yeah.
one of the other things that I hear complaints about in the restaurant business, and I can only ask you about this because Joe Piscopo's not here, is people that are particularly picky eaters.
Right.
Now, let me ask you: you're working in the kitchen, and you get a request for a salad that has to be vegan and gluten free, and from leaves that are from a certain part of the country. It seems like picky eaters are, and I mean super picky eaters, are a lot more prevalent now than they were 15 years ago. Is that true? And then how annoying is that?
Yes. Well, waiters and maitre d's have to deal with that more. We deal with the end result of what they want, and we listen. If you can't beat them, we join them. So, and you know what? I'm never gonna win the Cobb salad. I want a Cobb salad without cheese, without avocado. That's not a Cobb salad. Just
have some leaves.
Order a salad with what you want. It's easier for me to do the math than subtract. So our waiters have to be educated in that sense. They need to know the menu. We say yes to everything because we want that customer to come back. Because we know there's other chefs and restaurateurs out there saying we can't do it.
Yeah.
When I went out to eat years ago, my kid, he didn't want any green on his food. I was in an Italian restaurant. He didn't want any basil on his, and the waiter comes to me. He said the chef said no. I said okay. Tell the chef to finish my $100 bottle of wine. He can buy it because I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. If he can't not put basil on a pasta, and all of a sudden, or I can say obviously the chef's not an owner because if he's an owner he wouldn't. I mean, I'm not asking to reinvent the wheel. This is a simple
just
thing.
Don't put basil on.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line between, doing what's right. And,
that's a good business.
and
That's a
something you
business
can't
sense.
do.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
that's
I
just a good
can't make a
business sense.
souffle in the middle of a Saturday night if it's not on the menu.
Right.
So you just say no,
You could remove things.
Yeah, and then there's certain times you say, I'm sorry, we just can't accommodate you on that, but maybe there's something else. But a smart restaurateur and chef writes a menu these days that has 3 gluten-free items and has a couple of vegan opportunities.
Now, speaking of, we're talking with David Burke. He is a brilliant, brilliant chef. He's got restaurants all over the place, including the Woodpecker here in Manhattan. Now serving brunch on Sundays, by far my favorite meal. You've brought brunch calzone or breakfast calzone. What exactly is breakfast calzone?
Egg, bacon, egg, and ricotta cheese in a calzone.
My goodness.
Yeah. I was gonna call it the Mick calzone. I don't want to get sued.
No offense. We don't want any.
But it's a
Irish
big
folks
calzone. Yeah,
thinking
we
of
have the wood burning oven and all that stuff.
try a piece
But I think brunch is, one of my favorite meals too.
Oh, I mean, is there anything better? I mean, what's your favorite?
And we got big TVs in Woodpecker. Football season's coming. Brunch is going to be great. Sunday night we have a great happy. Woodpecker's really coming into it. We have another event coming up I'll tell you about. And, it's another meal period for us that we want to create Sundays into another Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Well, because you want people around for a while. You want them to come in at 11.
We have 30 bar stools, so it's a great place to watch a game. And we have the open, actually September 10th, we got our outdoor permit, so we open the doors, just sit outside. So it'll be a nice fall for us.
Anthony, you got to try some of this breakfast.
Yeah, no, I know.
Let's cut that up.
This is
Let's cut it up and get it started.
And this wasn't in my car overnight, so.
This will be the first calzone I've ever had with an egg actually in it, not in the bread, but actually in it. This is very exciting. But if you could do it all over again, knowing everything you know now about all the challenges in the restaurant business, everything, the regulations, all the nonsense that you occasionally have to deal with, you wouldn't change a thing, right? You would still choose this as your profession.
Yeah, you know what? I'm this is my lifestyle. This is what I do.
Thank you. I have one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I wouldn't change a thing. Listen, as long as the playing field is even, we're all in the same boat. We're going to figure it out. I remember when the cigarette, you couldn't smoke in a restaurant, and people were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It actually worked to us. I put a smoking limo out in front of David Burke Hotel.
A smoking limo?
It was the biggest news in the.
Goodness!
Went on CNN International. So the limo was outside. So because our coat room was small, it was in the winter. You had to get your coat to go out and smoke. People sat in the limo, smoked in the limo, and the limo driver was our doorman now. So there was no secondhand smoke going to an employee. because the limo was a ghost limo. Nobody was driving it.
Well, now they're banning vaping. Are you going to have a vaping limo?
I don't get the vaping thing. So.
Oh, delicious.
Was the limo where you got cancer after you came out because it was all the, compacted smoke in one place?
No offense when we have a tobacco here. Come on. All right.
Come on.
David
I got two
Burke.
cigars sitting here. I'm ready to smoke. I beat cancer. You think I care about a little smoke? Come on.
David Burke, this has been a delight. This is delicious. I want to
is good.
encourage
That's fantastic.
everyone to go to Tavern 62 and the Woodpecker. Woodpecker now open for brunch, serving this breakfast calzone, which is out of this world.
Oh my God, so good.
This is
And
so good.
the Garden City Hotel, if you want to sit outside on a beautiful night, they have a patio out there right across from the train station. What a pretty town.
Yeah, I heard you saw my friend Assemblyman Tom Alfano out there a few
Yes,
minutes ago.
yes.
Great guy.
we were talking about a few things.
Yeah.
That's another place I'm involved in. A beautiful hotel.
Yeah, no, that's,
And I
can't
was
wait
in
to go.
Saratoga this weekend. Now I know what everybody raves about it.
How soon
With the horses, I went to the horse auction place. They did the auction last night and tonight. It's like I felt like I was in Europe, sitting out on the patios there. Really, really.
How soon
pleasant.
shall we get you to Staten Island?
You know that thing's on hold. I'm waiting.
All right,
I'm
well,
waiting.
fingers
I'm waiting.
crossed,
That's
fingers
in
crossed.
All right, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
David Burke, thank you very much, my friend. Be well.
Everybody knows this guy. Now, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.